Flash may be the fastest man in line, but he was the slowest to get his own big screen picture. For more than 3 decades in the world of cinema, and even a decade in the already nearly extinct DCEU, the Scarlet Speedster had a long road ahead of him before finally arriving to the silver screen. Even by the time the film began rolling behind the scenes, many different hands were involved to bring the hero to life. However, delays both naturally and industrially emerged. And finally, in the divisive year of 2023, the film has came and went. Now we're well past the finish line, with the film now being on digital and physical storefronts. After a very shocking box office gross in these new times, one has to wonder, for those who have yet to see the film for themselves, was this film worth the wait? Welcome to After the Feature for DC's The Flash. The Flash has long existed before being put on any screen in the pages of DC Comics. Whether the hero's name was either donned by Barry Allen or Wally West, he still spread through the minds of many comic readers for decades before hitting the mainstream. With iconic performances in both the 90s with the CBS show led by John Wesley Shipp, or in the 2000s with the animated take voiced by Michael Rosenbaum, the Flash grew into prominence. However, in the background of all this, there were still plans to bring the Scarlet Speedster to the big screen. Notably, there was supposed to be a film written by Jeff Loeb, a film being made by David S. Goyer, and even the character being featured in George Miller's Justice League Mortal. Those all never made it into production, and talks literally slowed down until finally, in the fall of 2014, where things changed. Where, after Zack Snyder's Man of Steel was being used to prop up a brand new cinematic universe featuring DC characters, came the announcement for The Flash, with the title role to be played by Ezra Miller and with a release date of October of 2018. Which, of course, didn't hit the mark there. Miller had many times in the suit before finally getting the spotlight, whether it was in either version of Justice League or the many cameos that followed afterwards. The film took so long to make that we had an entire TV show about The Flash for 9 years, with Grant Gustin in the cowl. Ironically, the show came out exactly the same month as the film's announcement, and it was only completed a month before the film finally came out. It wasn't in the overall film's fault though, as many different filmmakers such as Lord and Miller, Rick Famuyiwa, and even Dale and Daly tried to make the film that they wanted to make, but at the same time have to contend with all the agenda changes and direction turns that Warner Bros. Wanted for their DC universe. Finally came director Andy Muschietti to be the man to helm this massive ship of a film, with it becoming a simple superhero flick to becoming a film that was literally going to change the DC world in film. But it would only be another 4 years after that point. Even having to survive multiple changes in the DCEU, a pandemic, and a company buyout, until we arrived to June of 2023, where the film finally opened, only in theaters. As we open at long last on the film, we're immediately thrown into the life of Barry Allen, now years into his superhero career, attempting to balance being a CSI, a loving son from afar, Central City savior, and at times member of the Justice League. However, when his emotions over the so far failures of getting his father released from prison after wrongfully being accused of killing his mother gets him to just not being in the place in life he sought to reach even with his powers. He stumbles upon an opportunity to change time itself to save his mother and free his father. But despite wise words from Batman, his wants are given in and he's thrown into a brand new reality that is not all that appears to be, and he must fight to save the world he came from and the world he created. The story itself, being inspired by the 2011 comic book event Flashpoint, might have had a bigger agenda to start fresh from the past. They still managed to craft a story that invoked a deeper lesson for Barry Allen. A lesson that not only will make him the man he needs to be, but as well as the hero he's meant to be. One that is willing to accept what has come before and only needs to run further and do what's right. I was honestly surprised at how much of the film actually focused on Barry's story. Both of them, really. And yes, I know the film is called The Flash, but considering the amount of returning DCU characters and the multiverse angle they were leaning towards, I was concerned that the film's larger elements would overshadow the hero's story, and I was very pleased to see that it didn't. Both Barrys, while minute at times can be a bit overbearing, still have engaging character development for both sides of what the two Flashes are dealing with. You have main Barry, who has been through the ringer, emotionally drained and longing for the past. If you watch Justice League and seen the bumbling, awkward character from then to now, you've seen that he's obviously now stepped up to the plate, as he surprisingly has to be the leader of this ragtag team of displaced heroes to save the day. It isn't easy being the leader or making the hard choices, but by the end, seeing his growth for the difficult decision he has to make for the universe, not for his own personal reason, was an accomplishment to see. Young Barry, for an extent, was thought to just serve as the comedic relief, plus to be the representative for new audience members who have no idea who the Flash is at all as a character. Which, yes, that was the function of his role. However, there's a bit more shades to him the deeper we got into the story. As he begins his own journey, you start to begin to see the true striking differences between himself and main Barry. Their different upbringings, despite being essentially the same character, leads down to strikingly unique perspectives and standing between the two Flashes, especially towards the end of the film. To showcase the lesson that doing what you think is better for yourself doesn't always mean it's the right thing for you to become. Ezra Miller does a really good job balancing out the two Barrys, giving them a core that's identical but at the same time two different characters. It's not an easy feat to do, but they managed to strike the right tone for each one of them, so kudos to them. Michael Keaton's return as Batman after more than 3 decades since he last wore the cowl was done with respect to both the original direction and what this new point in his life is taking him. Keaton is a phenomenal actor who has done amazing roles since '91, plus having been on the other side with Marvel via Spider-Man Homecoming, and sadly Morbius. The film proves he's still got it as Bruce Wayne. Seeing an aged version of the Burton character felt authentic to where he is in his life after all he's been through. The recluse angle can get a bit old after a while by this point, but the way he performed it was different, and it felt natural in a way that just does. Seeing him interact with other heroes is something older comics fans have dreamed of for so long. His return felt organic and not forced for the sake of nostalgia bait. Plus, having his wisdom that he's learned over the years both on and majorly off-screen was super helpful for Barry, specifically in a way in a lot of different forms. Batman and Flash have similar backgrounds, losing their parents at such a young age, which gives them a deep understanding with each other. Even for this take on Batman, only just meeting him for the first time, you feel that energy and the want to help guide the young generation down a better path. While it's a slight bummer that all of his planned follow-ups were scrapped, you can never deny the gift of seeing this Batman kick ass one more time in our lifetime. Finally, for Supergirl, played by newcomer Sasha Collins, was a welcome treat. She is a bit underutilized and in a way is only needed to even the odds in the main conflict. Plus, at the time, she was mainly pointed to replace Henry Cavill in the super role for the DC Universe in film. However, despite all that, this isn't just a copy and paste. She brings so much more of a rawness to the character. Despite both of them wearing a crest that means hope, Clark dons it after having been raised by two wonderful human beings, while Kara dons it after being held captive for more than a decade. You get to see that anger either directly or subtly in her scene, but deep down you still see the L way. Again, I feel like Sasha brought so much to the role, but in a way she was also felt like the pseudo-MacGuffin to guide the second half of the film. Perhaps there might be a future for her down the road, but for now, this take leaves you wanting more. Jumping into more of the spoiler territory and nitpicking, I will admit the CG does take me out of it a little bit. I was aware this was the vision for the team to have us as the audience see what Barry is seeing. However, while a lot of the shots were great, some came as a little bit rough towards the later half of the film. Normally you shouldn't make that a big critique with these films, but if it's something very noticeable, it's hard to ignore. Especially that final battle, which felt like it had a certain filter to it, which came off as very empty the screen or Larry enlarging some characters. The film doesn't have a traditional villain per se, mainly the overall journey serves as the problem to be solved while also having antagonist forces to delay the solution. The return of General Zod felt a bit muted. While I will give them kudos for bringing back Michael Shannon, this one felt more like a because we need it, rather than for a deeper reason. He basically just plays the same character from Man of Steel, which, it is the point. This definitely felt like the example within the rising multiverse projects where they kind of feel like a toy in a way, just to draw people in and do cool scenes without much impact. Dark Flash, which I know a lot of people would say, just bring in the Reverse Flash already. I can agree with that statement, but at the same time, the thematic purpose of him outweighs the obvious need for the other. He serves as the failures of what Barry's trying to achieve, both main and young. And it is a scary truth that even we as people sometimes do not understand when something isn't working. Eventually you just turn an eye on what you have become because you believe in something that just isn't meant to be. Although the design looks crazy and a little bit over the top in my opinion, plus I guess in a way Ezra played 3 characters in the film, so that's cool to say. Finally, with the film being the last true DCU movie that started all the way back with Zack Snyder, I was impressed for the most part on how we finally got the closest we probably ever will to what the DCU will be with the MCU. The opening scene with Flash, Wonder Woman, and Batman was one of those standouts and was just the heroes being themselves and having a bit of fun. But the true standout was Ben Affleck's last scene as Bruce Wayne, which honestly was such a well done moment that perfectly balanced his time as the Batman, as well as in general with the journey of Bruce Wayne as a character. I really wish we would have gotten that same love for Henry Superman or even Ray Cyborg, but you can't win them all. The months leading into The Flash received so much praise from the select few, but the months afterwards only received more mixed reviews, but still good things to say about the final film in the DCEU. The Flash is not one of the greatest superhero films of all time, nor is it one of the best ones the DC films have ever produced. However, it does stand as a very good one, both on its own merit and in its nearly ended shared universe. Its market history will be a unique one that I think maybe should have deserved a little bit more attention on it. If this is the last time we see Ezra Miller's Flash on screen, then they at least did the very best they could with this story. but I'm a little salty we won't get to see Michael Keaton's Batman again after this. In short, The Flash represents what the DCU could have been from both a past and a lost future perspective, with it also being a film that has a lot of heart and it does have a message deep down within. Even if its shortcomings in a lot of different areas brings it down a lot, it's still one of the best the DCU has to offer, which, to be honest, wasn't really much of a high bar to reach. The film gets my personal score of 7 out of 10, but it does get the Joe score of a large popcorn and a large beverage. Let me know in the comments below what you think of DC's The Flash. Was it worth the wait? I would love to hear your thoughts down below. This has been After the Feeder. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to ActionX for more cool reviews such as this one. Until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.